All right. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 22 of Breaking Through Your Brick Walls. This is a live podcast where you get to take a look at some other successful business owners, get a glimpse of life behind the scenes with them, some of the struggles they may have overcome. It's just a place for us to be authentic and hang out for a little while. Today, I'm talking with Travis Baird. Travis is a mindful business coach, and he helps ambitious professionals get the clarity, confidence, and control they need to do their best work without overwhelm or burnout. He primarily works with folks through one-on-one coaching. My name is Pamela Lewerenz. I'm lovingly dubbed the Brick Wall Coach. I'm a productivity coach and workday strategist that works with solopreneurs to take them from overwhelmed and burned out to organized and thriving. So I'm so excited to talk with Travis today. He is a wealth of information when it comes to that clarity, the confidence, and recovering from burnout and overwhelm. So welcome, Travis.
Thank you so much, Pamela. I'm really excited to be here today.
Oh, I'm so glad you could join me. I know December can get a little hectic for some of us.
A little bit.
Just a tad, right?
Just a touch, yeah.
Well, I know from reading your profile that you love hiking and coffee, baking bread. So I wanted to ask you a couple questions around that.
Oh, yes.
All
That sounds like a
right.
great conversation.
Okay. So do you have any favorite places to go hiking?
Ooh, favorite places to go hiking. I think one of the ones that holds the most emotional attachment for me is a hike that I used to do actually a few times a month when I lived in South Carolina. I live in Texas now. But there's this place in near Greenville, South Carolina called Paris Mountain.
Oh,
And
yes.
it's a nice little place. It's not like, a bucket list kind of hike. It's not a place that people, come from out of state to go to, but it's a place that I went to often enough that it became like a refuge. And so it holds a really nice, special place in my heart. And now that I live so far away, I think that distance makes it even more special. So whenever I have a chance to go back there, I will be very happy.
Nice. I'm going to put that on my list. I haven't been there. I
Yeah,
haven't
it's a
been
good one.
there.
It's a good
Good. Good.
one.
All right. How about your strength of coffee?
Oh man, strength of coffee. Well, black. So I take my coffee black, and then my favorite coffee drink currently is just an Americano, so just espresso and water. I don't make
Ooh.
that at home though. I don't have an espresso machine. If anybody wants to send me an espresso machine, I'll take it. So usually I just make pour overs for me and my wife each morning, but
Oh, nice.
it's a nice way
Okay.
to start the day.
Christmas wish list for you.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Slightly expensive on the Christmas wish list, but there are more expensive things out there.
That's right. That's right. And how about a favorite bread recipe that you have?
Ooh, that is a good one. Well, recently it's kind of like an obvious choice, but I've been really enjoying the America's Test Kitchen book on bread baking, which I think came out like a year and a half ago or so. But America's Test Kitchen stuff, if anybody hasn't heard of them or used any of their books before, it's great because they use equipment that home bakers or home cooks have, which means that you will actually be able to get results, based on their testing and everything that replicate that. Unlike some other bread books that I have where it's like you need to have some very fancy equipment, which
Yeah.
also sounds great, but not my kitchen doesn't have a professional bakery in it.
Yeah. No, mine either. Mine either. But that really drew me to you because I love hiking. I love coffee and I love to bake bread. I mean, I love to bake a lot of things, but bread especially. But I don't have any fancy bread recipes. I just like, the normal types of bread.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, probably my favorite like loaf to make consistently is challah. Just
Oh,
even though,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, it's just a nice, very satisfying bread to make, and I like it a lot.
And it goes well with coffee.
Oh yes, exactly.
Or tea.
Right.
Well, why don't you give us a little bit of a deeper dive into your business and how you work with your clients?
Sure. So most of the work I do is working one-on-one with mostly solopreneurs. I have a few clients who are academics and who work in small businesses, but most of my clients are solopreneurs. And working one-on-one with them, it usually comes in three stages, regardless of how long we're working together. The first stage really focusing on building awareness. So my clients often come to me with some level of overwhelm or burnout, and they're looking for ways to systematize their lives so that they can get more done in their businesses. Sometimes they think that means they need to do more. Sometimes it means they need to do less. Everybody comes from a different place, but
Yep.
it always starts with building awareness. And so developing some level of mindfulness practice is always a part of that. And there are lots of ways we do that, but that's the first stage. Then the second stage is in developing those systems, but in a way that is sustainable for you. So I am very much pro simplicity over complexity. I am very much pro reducing rather than adding, reducing as much as possible. Sometimes we have to add, but reducing as much as possible. And also very much a fan of questioning norms, questioning what it is that experts like me, honestly, but experts often come and tell us we need to do things a certain way. And a lot of times we don't need to do things in as complex or as difficult a way as people present. So for solopreneurs in particular, that means sometimes reducing the complexity of a launch of a product or a service, or reducing the complexity of how you organize, your business itself. So that's the second stage, is developing the systems. And the third stage, which often is the sneaky little part that takes up the most energy, even though it's not usually the thing people think of, is managing the internal challenges like imposter syndrome, like, learning to overcome all of the, brick walls that we run into internally that really tend to stop us and that tend to be invisible until we apply that awareness to them. So, imposter syndrome is one of my favorite ones because as solopreneurs, we all run into that. No matter what anybody tells you, we all experience it. And it's a matter of learning how to navigate it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all experience it, and at different times and different levels.
Oh, yeah.
You may think that you have it under control, but then it rears its ugly head somewhere down the road as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite and kind of most embarrassing memories was before I started doing this work, I was a classical musician. And a friend of mine introduced the idea. He had been performing a lot and came up to me and was like, man, I've been running into a lot of imposter syndrome lately. I just don't feel like I deserve the success that I've been having, or I don't deserve to be on the stages that I've been on. And me being unaware of that as a thing, I had been experiencing lots of things that I now can look back and realize are imposter syndrome. I'd been experiencing a lot of performance anxiety, stage fright. I've been over preparing for a lot of things, like pretty much consistently over preparing. I've been avoiding opportunities that I was being offered. I would often say yes to them, but then regret it or back out. And so all of those things are, in fact, ways of knowing that you are experiencing imposter syndrome. But I was like, no, man, I never had that. I don't know what that is. And so that was a while ago now. It's way in my rearview mirror, but that was one of the first, that's one of my first memories with imposter syndrome, and realizing that often we think we're immune, but none of us are. And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It is okay. That is, I think, the number one thing to tell yourself is it's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is okay. And it's not about being perfect or like, curing your imposter syndrome, imposter complex. It's not about that. It's about finding a way to manage it when it arises, which means also being able to see it when it arises. So that's where the awareness comes in. And then also to be able to just navigate around it, to be okay with it, or to feel the fear and the discomfort and still do something really cool, which may not be the way you originally envisioned. And that's okay too.
Yeah, that's okay. Everything's okay, right?
Well, maybe that's a fun conversation. I can think of some things that aren't okay, but in terms of imposter complex,
yes,
it's okay. Yeah.
So what's something you wish you had known when you first started your business?
Ooh. Okay. So I am very much a recovering perfectionist, recovering recovering workaholic, perfectionist who says workaholic wrong. So coming from that place of perfectionism, workaholism, when I first started my business, I basically I bought into what everybody tells you, which is that you have to hustle really hard. You have to push yourself way beyond your limits. If you want to be successful, you have to be uncomfortable. All of these stories that people say. And there's a certain degree of truth to them, but they're not fully true. And so looking back now, a little bit, sometimes, not all the time. So one of the things I really wish I had known starting out was that, especially as a solopreneur, someone who can do and is responsible for everything in my business, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to create space, because my to-do list will never be finished. If I'm waiting for my to-do list to be finished, or if I'm waiting for exhaustion to give myself an excuse to take a rest to end the day, then I won't last long. And I ran into that a bunch of times early on, and learned that lesson the hard way. And thankfully I survived and made it through and continued doing the work. But I think the thing I wish I knew the most was that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to rest. And in fact, it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's exactly what happens to me. I have a similar background, and it's funny because sometimes at the end of the day, my husband and I will be eating dinner, and he's like, "So did you get everything done today?" And I just kind of chuckle because I'm like, "Everything? Like everything that was like my 3 main steps for the day, or you mean everything on that ta-da list?" Because it's not a ta-da list anymore. Now it's like grown. And yeah, I think it comes to the point where you just have to realize you can only handle so much. You can only do so much. You can only expect yourself to do so much. And it's okay to take the time for yourself, and it's okay to ask for help from other people.
Absolutely. And it's really, it can feel uncomfortable. I should say for me, it's something that I still feel uncomfortable about. And I've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah.
But, and I work with my clients on it. It's in some ways easier to work with clients on it than it is to work ourselves with it. That's why we all need our own coaches too. But for me, it was really coming to terms with the internal challenge of, okay, emotionally, I'm having a hard time slowing down. I know I should be able to let go, but I can't. How do I do that? And so for every person that's different, but acknowledging first of all that it's okay. And if you are caught up in the entrepreneurship mindset of you have to work hard to be successful, just acknowledging that, again, there's some truth there. There is work involved, but it is not the whole picture. There's a lot missing from that. And embracing a sense of curiosity about that, about finding what else there is, what does it mean to value the rest as well? Maybe it also means we need to rest really well and not just work really well.
Yeah. It's kind of that balancing trick that we have to do, figuring out, just like I say in relationships, everybody goes, "Oh, it's 50-50. Some days it's 90-10, one way, or 90-10 the next day. I mean, that's just how it is in your business life. It's just trying to balance everything. Sometimes there's going to be a lot more business on your plate one day, and another day it might be time to take that step back and put you up to the front.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's one of the hardest things is when you have those days that slow down. I'm sure you experience this too, where it's saying, okay, it's okay that there's not a lot, and I can actually, do whatever I need to do. And then, anybody in a real job, anybody who works for a boss, if they had a day where they had 2 things to get done, they got those 2 things done, what would they do after that?
Yeah.
Who knows? It depends.
Who knows? Yeah, exactly.
But they wouldn't go force themselves to do another week's worth of work to fill the space.
No.
Until they felt totally exhausted to feel like they had done enough. And that's something a lot of entrepreneurs do habitually.
Yeah, definitely. So what made you make this decision to come into the world of entrepreneurship?
Ooh. Well, in a lot of ways, and I found this out the hard way, but in a lot of ways, I am kind of unemployable. Not in that I'm a very, I always do is anytime there's an expectation that is placed on me or that I accept, I always do that to my utmost. So like I always put effort in. I'm a very good student type of person. But I always, always, always at my deepest want to be free to do things in the way that I see as best, which makes it really hard to be an employee who's not leading something. At my core, I want to be able to pursue whatever I believe is most important at any given moment, which entrepreneurship allows a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time. So that's how, I kind of grew up with parents who were entrepreneurship minded and supportive of that idea.
Nice.
But when I worked in a couple of jobs during school and right after school, I discovered very quickly that my desire to do things a certain way and with a certain amount of freedom and control was so great that I had to go out on my own.
Yeah. So you don't want to be put in one of those boxes. You have to do
Right.
this during this time frame in this way. You didn't want that.
Well, yeah, it's that, and also just the kind of, I want to be able to be part of the discussion of why. So why are these decisions important? So there are roles in jobs that allow you to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say some companies, especially nowadays, allow more of that interaction. But I mean, even, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, it was unheard of.
Yeah.
You didn't do that. There was somebody at the top and they made all the decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the challenge. I mean, so, I mean, for me, it's largely about the realization of, okay, there are lots of ways to make money in the world. There are, and if we just need to make money, if that's why you get a job in the first place, there are plenty of other ways to do it. And I've been fortunate and very, very privileged to have a circumstance where I'm able to take advantage of my skills and take advantage of opportunities that I have to start businesses on my own. But yeah, it's one where it's like, I don't know if I could ever truly go back, like for the long haul, to a job at this point. I know too much.
So how long have you been doing this, the Mindful Productive?
So Mindful Productive, let's see, we're coming up on 2 years.
Ooh, good.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
which is pretty exciting. And I started coaching. I mean, my experience with this kind of work has been kind of amorphous over time. When I was working on my doctorate in music, a lot of that degree was spent teaching one-on-one and teaching music students, which is a combination of teaching and coaching. And I started doing that, early in my schooling. So I didn't realize it at the time. Didn't even realize it until after I started my business, actually, that I'd been doing this work for many years before that even. My first business was working with musicians, helping them deal with similar stuff, burnout, productivity topics, but then also around performance anxiety, stage fright. But yeah, so it's been a good couple years and very, very enjoyable work so far.
Nice. So you worked with musicians before. What is your ideal client avatar now?
Now, my ideal clients are solopreneurs who are tired of, trying to force somebody else's productivity system onto their lives.
Yeah.
People who are tired of feeling overwhelmed every time they try to level up, and people who are either approaching or at that stage of burnout. So people who really need that support and who are ready to deeply consider, what does it mean for me to do my work in a way that is sustainable for me?
And what would you say is like your favorite thing about working with those clients?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's this moment, if anybody listening, and Pam, you may have experienced this too, where as you're coming out of a period of overwhelm or burnout, there's this moment where you realize, okay, everything is going to be okay. I'm going to survive this. I have some measure of control here. I can choose where I want to go next, rather than feeling compelled to do whatever it is or feeling like a total lack of control and anxiety over that.
Yeah.
that moment is my favorite thing, getting to that moment. So I don't know if that's a thing, but
Yeah, no,
getting,
that's great. That's great. I was going to say, it's that release. It's
yeah.
like that release and the relief of, okay, I'm normal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm normal. I can get over this. Now I'm getting the tools of how to get over this. Yeah, yeah, that would be one of my favorite things too. I
Yeah.
like to see those results, the results from taking them from this point over to where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think, and closely related to that with results is when people come back to you later and they say, I'm still using this tool
Yeah.
or this system, or even better, I'm still using this. I tweaked it in these couple of ways. I hope that's okay. Like that
Yep.
is like the
Yep.
best thing, because it
That's
means that they're listening to themselves. And that
yes.
is a huge part of this work too.
That is huge. That is huge, which goes hand in hand with my next question of, so what is your one go-to productivity tool that you couldn't live without?
It's the thing that I use every day. Currently, there are lots of things that I use, and for different purposes. But there's one tool that I use every day that I work. I should say, not every single day of my life, but every day that I work, which is most weekdays. Um, which is I every morning or whenever I start working for the day, I sit down and I go through and I fill out what I call gears. Okay, so gears is an acronym, GEARS. And just on a sheet of paper, or for me, I like to use Trello for this, but you can totally do it on a sheet of paper, is to just go through and write down for today, just today, what are the following things? The first thing is the goal for the day. So G stands for goal. That's a singular goal, one goal, not multiple goals. What is the one thing I want to focus my energy on today? Or what is the one thing I want to accomplish today? It doesn't have to be a SMART goal. It can be, but it could also be something more nebulous, something where you want to place your energy there. What's the focus? So goal. Then events. What events do I have coming up? This is straightforward. What are things that I have scheduled with a time? And the reason to do this is just how many times have we all started the day and then realized, oh my gosh, I'm scheduled out. I have no time to do anything else. So this is a
Right.
chance to say, all right, I've got this at this time, this at this time, this at this time, which takes you to actions, which is saying today, what are my actions for today only? Because most people have a tendency, myself included, to have a to-do list that is
Yeah.
for the week or for the month or for forever, and you never ever finish it, which can creep into a sense of overwhelm and constant exhaustion. So aiming to keep that list as short as possible, 5 to 10 things if possible at the most, depending on what they are. Maybe less if you can do that, even better. And then the last two letters of gears, R and S, are the most important ones, most important for preventing burnout. R stands for rest, which is, when am I going to finish working today? And there's no judgment around that. It can be whatever time it is. If it's 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. or 2 a.m., it doesn't matter. Whatever time it is, when am I going to finish working today? So you have permission when that time arrives. And then if you have a really long day, when am I going to take breaks? And the S stands for satisfaction, which is just very simply, and this is so important, so easy to skip, but so important for preventing burnout. What am I going to do today just because I want to do it, just because it makes me feel good, just because it makes me feel whole, just because it taps something that I need in my life. And that
I
can be
love that.
literally anything. But doing that as a daily rhythm, doing that every day you work, before you get pulled in, just gives you that sense of control. Like, okay, I actually do get to choose what I do today. It's not
Yeah.
my day happening to me.
Yes, exactly. Don't let your day run you. You're
Yeah,
supposed to be running your day.
exactly.
Good, good. All right. A couple of fun questions before we wrap it up. Not that all these questions haven't been kind of fun,
Of
right?
course.
So what are some of the things you enjoy doing when you're not working?
Ooh, okay. So we've touched on a few of them already. Let's see. Some of the ones that we didn't touch on, other than obviously hiking, being out in nature, trail running. I really enjoy all of those things. Baking bread, but other things, bird watching. My wife and I really, we enjoy going bird watching occasionally. That just goes along with being in nature already. So it's nice. Um, let's see, what else? I'm a person who I really like to just take on new hobbies. So like if I find something that is somewhat interesting, I'll start learning that thing. I've recently started playing fingerstyle guitar a lot. So
Oh,
my musical background, my primary instrument was the viola, like a violin like this, but it's a little bigger, deeper. So playing guitar a lot recently. I've recently started, I don't even know how this started, but I've been playing around with learning Scottish Gaelic, the language,
oh,
just cause I don't really know why, but so yeah, I don't know. I could keep going with that list for a long time, but I like learning. I like that starting phase of starting a new hobby, and I try not to take it too seriously.
I love that. Those are some really cool things. Okay, how about what would you tell your 20-year-old self? If you
Ooh.
could go back in time.
This gets heavy, I think. So bear with me, everyone. I think I would tell myself, first of all, this is going to be hard to hear, Travis, but it is okay and in fact essential, absolutely necessary that you begin to listen to your own needs, not
Mm,
constantly and blindly following the path that you're on or what others say. So rather than picking a path and then staying on that path blindly no matter what, rather than following the rules all the time, finding a way, and this will take work, Travis, finding a way to learn to listen to your own needs, to
yeah,
your own emotions, to what you believe is important in life
yeah.
and what you want out of this. Because right now at 20, you're in a phase where you just do things because you feel like you have to. And that's something that won't serve you long term.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. I'm just sitting here going, whoa, stuff I should have told myself when I was 20, stuff I should be telling myself now.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh yeah.
mean, it is really hard to not get caught up in life's expectations without thinking about what you truly want, not paying attention to anybody else, what their expectations are for you, what they'd love for you to do. That's that is a tough one to get really honest with yourself.
It is tough. And it's
Yeah.
something, I mean, like you said, I'm working on this too. This is where I'm at currently. And it's something where 20-year-old me, I don't even know if I could have comprehended.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I had the awareness to even know that I was doing anything other than that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just this awareness of, okay, I can want to do things for others. I can want to do things because they're good for other people or for society or for whatever it is, but that has to come from within me. Otherwise, it's not going to work long term. It's not going to
Yeah.
be sustainable. I'm going to reach a point where I'm going to reach a brick wall, which I'm not going to be able to get around at some point, unless I'm paying
It's
attention.
it's so hard. I mean, we could have a whole conversation on this, but when I think about it, I always put it into perspective of even when my kids, who now are grown, were getting ready to go to college and weren't even sure what they wanted to do. It kind of brought back all those things from me and making my decisions. And I just sat them down and I said, look, you do what your heart's telling you to do. Don't listen to anybody else. Don't, go down a certain path just because it's going to have the hopes to make you a six figures a year if it's not going to make you happy. And that's really hard to do when you're young. I
Mhm.
always think you should go to college much later in life once you've experienced a little bit more. I mean, it's tough to figure out, okay, I'm going to go to school for 4 more years and get a degree in X. And what if you don't love X by the time you're 30?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
tough.
yeah, and I think for me, there are a couple things that come to mind with that. One is that to be able to decide, to be able to even know what it is that you
Yeah.
want, what it is that you love, you need skills. Like
Yeah.
you need to have practices, ways on a daily basis to check in with yourself. And for everybody, that's going to be different. And that's
Yeah.
something that takes a lot of cultivation over time. And then the second thing, and this is a huge one that has only really settled in recently, is that what we believe in, what we want most, our passions, what we love doing, it changes over time. And that's
Absolutely.
okay. Like that's not
Yep.
a proof of failure. Like you might for 10 years love doing X and pursue it to its utmost and become a master at it. And then if you decide, okay, well, this is no longer it for me, that's not a proof of failure. That's just proof that either you gained a new level of awareness, awesome, thumbs up for that, or something changed and your life changed. Maybe you have a family now. Maybe your life is different for some way. Maybe you're just tired of doing the same old thing. You want to do something else. None of that is wrong. And it's just in any given moments, being able to say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I need now. It's okay. We don't have to keep doing the same things the same way for our whole lives. It's okay to shift.
I love that. I love that. Case in point. I mean, I gave up New England, which I had known for 52 years. That's all I ever knew, to come to South Carolina last year. And yeah, it was really scary, but it was something I really had wanted to do for a long time. And it was, part of it was sad because I was leaving behind things I was very familiar with, but part of it was so exciting because it opened up a whole new world for me and something that I really wanted to try. Am I going to be here forever? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I know that I'm happy right now. And just taking that little side path.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a perfect example. Things change and it's not proof that New England is bad.
Right.
It's just, it's not for you now.
Right.
And that's okay. South Carolina is.
And I'm loving it. Well, I am going to ask you for our last little piece here for you to share some advice, pass along some advice to our listeners. It can be around business, it can be around personal, whatever you'd like to share with them.
Okay.
We've shared a lot.
I know we have shared a lot. I want to share something a little bit different, and it's not something I hear a lot, and it's something that I need. I need to hear often. And this is something that I only discovered in the last year or so for myself. So if you're like me, and not everyone will be, so if this doesn't resonate for you, if this doesn't connect, okay, I'm not offended. But if you are like me and you have a tendency to not be in touch with your emotional life, to not be in touch with, acknowledging your feelings, the true deep emotions that you have, either because you push them down or you ignore them or you just literally never feel them, which is me. I just would never feel them. I would just work and never feel my experience. Then I would strongly encourage finding a way, and there are lots of people out there, and you can reach out to me if you want resources on this, finding a way to get in touch with your emotional life, because it's a huge part of the human lived experience that if you ignore, one, it will eventually cause pain, unnecessary pain that you didn't need to feel in the first place. And two, you're also missing out on a huge amount of depth in your life if you're not feeling the full range of your emotions, if you're only focusing on feeling happy all the time or feeling productive all the time, like I wanted to, that it's okay to have those other things. That doesn't mean you have to want to feel unpleasant emotions, but that when they happen, and they will because you're human, finding a way to just touch that and to feel, okay, this is okay. I can live with this. I can be all right. I think that's the advice. I don't know if that's even advice, but that's that's been present for me a lot lately.
Yeah. Well, you and me both, believe it or not. So I think that's excellent advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you to everyone else who joined us today. This was a great episode. I hope you really enjoyed it too. I want you to remember, every day is a good day to be you. You are amazing. Don't forget it. We'll be back another day. Let's see. Next Tuesday, I'll be back at 1 p.m. Eastern with a new guest. Thanks so much.